Here we are, people. Another stream be upon us. Thanks for kicking off your weekend with us here on the Brews at 10. On my left eye, I'm your host Lefty. You're all very welcome here this evening. What's happening, Brew Chat Chores? Morbius has the distinct honour of being first in the chat. Aaron Gray as well, good to see you. Stu as well. Aaron Gray. Floor Snake as well. Solidari-Tea, everybody. Hope you're brewing well this evening. Yeah, just about been able to squeeze in another live stream this week. I thought it's only fair, seeing as due to technical collapse it didn't go very well on Wednesday, so fill up the numbers. More, you're quite right, that opening tweet there from Starmer didn't age very well. I guess that would have been from around 10 years ago maybe. Was it 2016 when Trump had his first state visit? Maybe around then. But aged like milk in the sun. And then all of a sudden, Trump declares he's getting along great guns with Starmer. Yeah, total hypocrite. And by Trump's standards, getting on with someone simply means being flattered by them and them doing as they're told. Or else tariffs. Floor Snake, he seems to have been automatically abdicated. Aaron Gray currently coronated number 1 on top fans for the stream. Very early days though. There is a poll open as well on the stream as to whether you think the Liberal Democrats will win more seats than Labour at the next general election. So if you think Labour are going to get a walloping, then please vote aye, and if you don't, then please vote nay. Pretty self-explanatory. Alright, what's coming up? Well, yeah, this Jimmy Kimmel debacle, he's been cancelled, as it were. Oh, well, his show's been pulled. That's pretty much in the literal sense. It's been axed. Because of a stand-up routine, a short stand-up routine that he does. These late night talk show hosts always do one throwing a few jokes at the start before they get the guests on and stuff. But because this wasn't absolutely completely complimentary to Trump himself, and other specific reasons, which we'll go into later. Oh, it's a lot more than that. It's not as simple as that. But the show's been pulled anyway. But his fellow late night talk show hosts are standing in solidarity with him. They've been pretty outspoken about that, so I'll go through the ins and outs of that. Some latest stats as well as by-election results and polling to come up, as well as the latest on this apparent fallout within your party. And whether this can be resolved quickly and we can just move on and kick the shit out of reform, because that's what I'd like to see. Obviously the Green Party will have a big part in that, hopefully, as well. Things have really ignited in France on the streets. Massive protests that have almost turned into riots. Well, the police are certainly in riot gear. I've got some clips of that. Pretty heavy-handed stuff from the French police, but the French do, of course, have an excellent history of protest. So the latest from that, it's workers' rights protest. A bit more about the Charlie Kirk stuff. Surrounding that, so we'll be launching another new feature on the channel, people. Yes, you heard that right. Creativity certainly flowing. Air quotes on that as well, I guess. But yeah, just back to the Kirk stuff. A few other really interesting insights. Still a lot of questions to be answered there. As well as the latest on Gaza and the Sumud Flotilla, of course, which has had its final pit stop, as it were, and is reaching, hopefully, it's getting ever closer to its target to be able to create a corridor to supply aid to Gaza. That's the thing. The first flotilla that gets there will have firmly put the foot in the door, hopefully. So the latest on that tremendous international effort. Speaking of tremendous efforts, that's a tremendous amount of support there from SatNav. Thank you very much for those 10 gifted memberships. A great way to start off proceedings this evening. Thank you very much again. Big up SatNav in the chat, please, everybody. I won't read through the full list of recipients, but I do hope you all enjoy your perks. And that means I can ceremonially update the membership goal to 115. Thank you very much. That's also a great cue as well to thank all of the existing members on the channel. Just bring the goal back up again. So I'll add those 10 recipients plus anybody else who joins through the stream onto this list of marvellous members. The Brew crew, the Brew Chachos, fellow Brewdists, The puns almost write themselves at this point. Tea was a pretty good theme for live streams where punnery is concerned. Thanks to each and every one of you. Thanks again, Satnav, for those gifted memberships. Other ways you can support the channel: super chat is open, super thanks is open if you're watching back later on. But if you don't have the means to contribute via YouTube, then please consider, I'll just go back, get the logo. Please consider using the Buy Me a Coffee page. You can find the link for that in the description of this stream or in any other content on the channel. Thanks a lot for all of your support. You can also support simply by making sure that you've hit the thumbs up button. That doesn't cost a thing. Neither does subscribing on the channel. If you're watching one of the streams for the first time, please do subscribe, and then you can join other people in the chat as well. Afterglow, yeah, you get exclusive content. There's actually one series in particular, my JSO story, which concerns quite a bit of the activism I've been doing myself in the last few years. You get early viewings as well on content. So a lot of the mostly the longer length videos, you'll get an exclusive early view to that. There's static emojis. Yeah, check them out, and please do give us some feedback on the exclusive content as well. We'll be adding to that catalogue very soon as well. But also, thanks to Stu for that super chat. Let's give that some appreciation. Thanks again, Stu. Big up Stu in the chat, please, everybody. Brah, brah. And a coffee as well, Sanav. That's very generous. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's important to stay caffeinated, especially when editing videos and getting stuff together for the live streams. Like when we have to completely strip everything out and redo it like we did on Thursday. Don't worry now, the IT team, the primates, are all well rested. They've been having a day of recreation today. Thanks again for that, Satnav. Brat brat, Moshi on toast, hitting us in the chat. Well, speaking of protest, as I just was, Moshi on toast is actually one of our guest interviewees from not the last Parliament Square protest, but the one before in London. Please do check that out. My Left Eye will be down there again, of course, on October the 4th, bringing you more exclusive content and interviews, because we do like to get into the thick of it. Asterix as well will point out Moshi was at the Edinburgh protest last time. Thanks a lot for the videos and pictures. Hope you're well. It's particularly dry humour where the opening comedy clip's concerned, I guess. Someone who was quite a witty chap, and I say was because it's a channel that I played recently, but the clip isn't quite as long as the last one. The channel that uses an AI voice of the late Christopher Hitchens, who was marvellous debater, particularly concerning, he was a very prominent atheist, but a great social observer as well. Sociologist, knew a lot about political history as well. And like I said, had a pretty sharp tongue from the clips that I've seen. I think he unfortunately died some years ago. But yeah, he does have a way with words, and when he does have a dig at someone in a dry fashion, it's always worth raising a smile. So yeah, they've ironically on this YouTube channel put him in situ in heaven of all places, and which obviously Hitchens wouldn't have believed in himself. The word resurrected, which of course he wouldn't have believed in either. But this is great. I'll just give it a little bit of a pre-intro. It does surround something I'll come on to later with the Charlie Kirk business, but the way that the far right immediately wanted to get their rhetoric out there, this kind of thing, to the extent that those who claim to be close friends of Charlie Kirk really did treat his widow in an absolutely abhorrent fashion, which is going to be the main part about this dry-witted observation from the late Christopher Hitchens, but resurrected through AI in this circumstance.
The exploitation of Erica Kirk began before her husband's blood had dried. Within hours of Charlie Kirk's assassination, Republican operatives had descended upon his widow, not with comfort but with talking points, not with sympathy but with scripts, not to support her but to stage manage her grief for maximum political impact. What followed was perhaps the most shameless act of emotional vampirism in modern American politics. The transformation of a devastated woman into a ventriloquist's dummy for the GOP machine. Consider the sheer cruelty of what was done to Mrs. Kirk. In her moment of maximum vulnerability, unable to sleep, trying to explain death to a 3-year-old, processing the violent loss of her life partner, she was surrounded not by grief counselors, but by political consultants. While she should have been planning a funeral, someone was planning her media strategy. While she was trying to comprehend widowhood, someone was workshopping her messaging. The evidence of external manipulation is overwhelming. Listen to this grieving widow suddenly transform into a conference promoter. If you want to get involved, go to tpusa.com. I highly recommend that you come to America Fest in December. Sign up right now. What widow, 3 days after watching her husband murdered, is thinking about website URLs and conference registrations? This isn't her voice. It's someone else's agenda being pushed through her mouth. The Republican machine clearly had a continuity plan ready, not for comfort, but for control. They needed to ensure the organization survived, the donations continued, the conferences sold out. So they took a woman who admits, "I honestly have no idea what any of this means," and made her deliver corporate growth projections. "I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen." That's not a widow's promise. That's a board resolution being delivered by someone too traumatized to resist. Watch the grotesque precision of the organizational rhetoric inserted into her eulogy. She thanks the COO, Justin Strife, and my husband's chief of staff, the amazing Mikey McCoy, making sure key players get their public recognition. She announces, "Our campus tour this fall will continue. There will be even more tours in the years to come. This isn't spontaneous. It's a business continuity announcement that someone convinced her she needed to make." The most damning evidence is the threat embedded in her grief. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. No woman 3 days into widowhood naturally speaks like this. This is action movie dialogue, written by someone who sees her not as a person to be comforted,
yeah, it's very good,
but as a weapon to be deployed.
AI.
They turned her natural anger into political ammunition, her grief into a declaration of war. The recruitment elements are particularly vile. Here's a woman who can barely function. "I don't remember the last time I slept," being used to recruit teenagers. If you're in high school or if you're in college, go find your local Turning Point USA chapter. Join it. If there isn't a chapter, you can't find one, then start one. There is no excuse. Someone made a grieving widow tell children they have no excuse not to join a political organization. The cynicism is breathtaking. Consider what the Republicans took from her in these moments. Instead of being allowed to remember her husband as he was, flawed, human, real, she was forced to participate in his instant canonization. Wearing the glorious crown of a martyr, she calls him, reading words that transform a political operative into a saint. They robbed her of the right to grieve the actual man, replacing him with a symbol useful for their
rightly
purposes.
predicted all of this, didn't we? We knew he was going to be used as a martyr for the right.
While she's saying, "Charlie, I love you, baby," someone has ensured she also says, "Sign up right now for that because we would love to see you," about the December event. They literally turned her love letter to her dead husband into a sales pitch. The same people claiming to honor Kirk's memory are using his widow as a marketing tool while she's too traumatized to resist. The handlers even made sure she hit the sports references. He loved the Chicago Cubs, and my goodness did he love the Oregon Ducks. He wanted me to say, "Go Ducks," so I have to since they play on Saturday. The specificity of knowing they play on Saturday reveals the preparation, the coaching, the script. Someone decided the eulogy needed humanizing touches and inserted them with all the subtlety of a corporate PR department. What makes this particularly heinous is that Mrs. Kirk clearly didn't have the capacity to resist. She admits she hasn't slept, can't process what's happening, doesn't understand what any of it means. In that state of vulnerability, Republican operatives surrounded her, shaped her message, and pointed her at the cameras. It's predation disguised as support. The machine needed her to perform several functions: reassure donors, recruit new members, establish a martyrdom narrative, and declare war on political opponents. So they took a grieving widow and made her do all of it, wrapped in just enough genuine emotion to make the manipulation deniable. The tell is in the oscillation between authentic grief and corporate messaging. When she talks about her daughter asking, "Where's Daddy?" and explaining, "He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget," that's real, devastating, human. But then immediately, the radio and podcast show that he was so proud of will go on. Someone is literally switching her back and forth between widow and CEO. What they've stolen from her is the right to genuine grief. Instead of processing her loss privately, she's been made into a public performer. Instead of anger at one killer, her rage has been redirected at millions of Americans who simply disagreed with her husband politically. The promise they extracted, "I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen," isn't her promise. It's the Republican machine's promise, delivered through her because a widow's vow has more emotional impact than an RNC press release. This is the Republican Party in 2025, so shameless they'll exploit a widow's first days of grief, so cynical they'll turn tears into talking points, so cruel they'll make a traumatized woman deliver their recruitment pitches while she can barely stand. They took a woman who needed comfort and made her into content. When she says, "I don't remember the last time I slept," she's telling us she's not in her right mind. When she says, "I honestly have no idea what any of this means," she's admitting she can't process what's happening. And in that state of vulnerability, the Republican Party moved in, not to help her, but to use her. The exploitation of Erica Kirk isn't just cruel, it's a confession. The Republican Party has admitted through their treatment of this widow that there is nothing they won't monetize, no grief they won't weaponize, no tragedy they won't transform into political advantage. Erica Kirk needed humanity. She got handlers. She needed time. She got talking points. She needed genuine support. She got turned into a political weapon while too traumatized to resist. They've shown us exactly who they are, and we should believe them.
It really was. Well, I say it is because this is all still ongoing. Very selling. Very selling. It says a lot about the standards or lack of as well. That they would do that to a grieving widow, albeit, again, perhaps possibly politically one that I wouldn't agree with. But you don't just immediately make her your poster girl for the martyrdom of your supposed friend. That's horrendous. Super Tiny joining us while that clip was on, and Doc Davies as well. Hope you're brewing well. Thank you very much for joining us. So that was Hitchens Resurrected. I think the full name of the channel is Christopher Hitchens Resurrected. If you want to go and give him if you want to go and subscribe, do recommend it. And we're going to get into this Jimmy Kimmel stuff now, this business, people. Yeah, again, raises the hypocrisy. Donald Trump, others on the right, always claim to be advocates of free speech. But Trump being so thin-skinned, and with Jimmy Kimmel also talking about a few other uncomfortable home truths for certain people, he's been pulled off air. But there is a little bit more to it, which we'll find out as we listen to more comedians who immediately showed solidarity and support for their cancelled comrade. And I'm going to start with a brief clip from when this came up on QT, Question Time, here in the UK. This week, an audience member brings this up as immediately interrupted. Of course, we get the more Toryfied version from Fiona Bruce. Yeah, but then the guy really doesn't let her dismiss it and shake it off the way that she tries to do, and comes back with a pretty good response, so credit to this guy.
Tell me why you've asked this question.
The main thing that prompted it, of all that, and it's relatively trivial, all things considered, was waking up this morning and hearing that the Jimmy Kimmel show has been cancelled because...
Okay, let me just for those of you who don't know, and perhaps at home, Jimmy Kimmel is a very well-known chat show host in America. I mean, in America, he's absolutely a household name, and his show has been cancelled. He's been taken off the air because of comments he made about Charlie Kirk and claims that he made about the person who is a suspect in killing Charlie Kirk. And this was felt, certainly by Donald Trump and others, to be very offensive.
See, the comments weren't about Charlie Kirk. They were about the people already, almost gleefully, weaponizing his death to advance their agenda.
That's not true.
That was the nature of his comment.
Piers,
These things have to be...
I am thrilled to have you on the panel, but and I will come back to you, but you just got to...
Oh, of course, that really set off Piers Morgan. How dare you? I'm really trying to brown-nose Trump at the moment. You can't say these things. Just his interjection again here.
See, the comments weren't about Charlie Kirk. They were about the people already, almost gleefully, weaponizing his death to advance their agenda.
Which the late Christopher Hitchens * AI just went into in a lot of detail. That's absolutely correct.
That's not true.
That was the nature of his comment.
Had to be Piers Morgan trying to fill the silence there.
These things have to be...
I am thrilled to have you on the...
It's just an untruth. You know, maybe Piers Morgan's been hiding under a rock for the last, what will it be now, 9 days? Oh yeah, because it started as, again, Hitchens AI said before his blood had dried. They just went straight for it. For anybody who's not actually seen it yet, this is what Jimmy Kimmel actually said.
Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
And that was it. Not especially incendiary, was it? Certainly seen edgier intros to late-night talk shows than that. There has certainly been more extreme opinions stated on television that haven't been reprimanded. For example, the genocide, the mass killing of homeless people, which has happened. But a joke about Trump's ballroom comments, pointing out very correctly that the right are trying to somehow franchise the death of Charlie Kirk, and so on and so forth. I mean, come on. And if it seems unbelievable, then it's because it is, because other things could be afoot. Let's see how the TV host reacted, and then go into that in a bit more detail.
Well, guys, the big story is that Jimmy Kimmel was suspended by ABC after pressure from the FCC, leaving everyone thinking WTF. This morning, I woke up to 100 text messages from my dad saying, "I'm sorry they canceled your show." I go, "That's not me. That's Jimmy Kimmel." But to be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on. And no one does. But I do know Jimmy Kimmel. And he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
We still on the...
Just set people. I just reload that because he's frozen. Yeah, just do a quick reset on that vid. Might be a bit of buffering here for a second, just while I do that. But I do have time to thank Idiosyncrasy for the gifted membership. Thanks again. I can change the membership goal. Thank you very much. Right, yeah, just quickly reset this vid. Yeah, it was just having a bit of a fit there.
Well, guys, the big...
Skip forward.
That's Jimmy Kimmel. But to be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on. And no one does. But I do know Jimmy Kimmel. And he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
My name is Jon Stewart, and welcome to The Daily Show on, I'm going to guess, Monday. I don't know. We have another fun, hilarious, administration-compliant show. all this swirling around, are the naysayers and the critics right? Is Donald Trump stifling free speech?
Of course not, John. Americans are free to express any opinion we want. To suggest otherwise is laughable. Ha ha ha.
Well, it's true. That's how they've reacted. You saw Stephen Colbert there, as well as Jimmy Fallon and Jon Stewart. But Stephen Colbert went into a bit more detail. Never afraid to stick his neck out. Oh, let's see this. There's a few. Interesting coincidences, might we say. Well, isn't that a coincidence? So they've got, you know, if you upset Trump, this merger might not go ahead. We might not be able to smell those sweet, sweet dollars. A MAGA merger. A mega MAGA merger. Ba-bum. So yeah, next star. And Disney. And that's just pure corruption. It's disgusting. It's absolutely filthy politics. We know what an egotist Donald Trump is. Saw him just the other day playing into a reporter was dared to be mildly critical of him. Again, just as he got off a helicopter. And then made a threat towards the interviewer, who was from Australia. I think Australia's version of ABC. He said, well, you know, I'm going to be talking to your boss about this. Like, just straight away, he's just so thin-skinned. So defensive. I think he knows that the walls are closing in around all this Epstein stuff. Which I have a little bit more to say about during this stream. Well, that's the cause for this hypersensitivity that he has and the way that he's reacting. But he shouldn't be able to do it. Yeah, he's trying to throw the kitchen sink at it. What have I done with the... Yeah, good point about the membership goal there. That must have happened during the Jimmy Kimmel freak out. Yeah, we have 1,116 out of 250 there. It's like a Russian election. What are your thoughts about the Jimmy Kimmel cancellation? Please let me know in the chat if you're watching live, or in the comments if you're watching back later on. Also, just double check that you've hit thumbs up on the stream if you just joined us. Welcome to the Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty. Thanks for joining us. Going to get on to some domestic goings on UK politics now. Some interesting polls and by-election results as well. I'll get into this falling out, this apparent falling out between, very public falling out, I should say, between Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. But don't be too pessimistic, people. Still think there's a lot to be hopeful about, as we're going to see with these few results and stuff. So we're going to start off with a by-election in Newham. Let's see what's happening. A left-wing independent candidate has gained the council from Labour. That's the third time that this has happened since Starmer became Prime Minister. Look at that drop for Labour though. They've absolutely fallen through the floor. Minus 34% with a 45% gain for that new candidate. Straight in there with 45%. Even seeing off Reform, who gained 16%. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. I still am going to perhaps go by my original theory that there will be more independent MPs than ever after the next general election, even though some of them might go to the Greens or your party or wherever in the well, it's scheduled for 4 years, but the way things are going for Starmer, don't put all your eggs in one basket where that's concerned, if you know what I mean. So that is a tremendous drubbing for Labour there. 34% drop. Again, this is somewhere that they would have considered to be a safe council. So that's Plaistow South Ward, just to be extra specific. More you think that your party should sign up members and then hold a leadership election. Well, I don't know how many they're up today. I know that they had about 20,000 members already before this public falling out happened and the confusion over these emails that were sent out warning people not to respond. That turned out to be genuine. But they have said that they'll be very democratic where the leadership's concerned, yeah. Corbyn's been quite adamant whenever he's interviewed and he's introduced as co-leader. He emphasises that's yet to be confirmed, yet to be decided by the members. And the same could be said for Zara Sultana as well. More about that public spat to come. So that's the first by-election result. There was another one in Queen's Park Ward in Brighton and Hove. And again, look at this. This is again from Labour by the Greens, boosting the percentage by 20% as Labour drop 15% to 31. So a clear 17% margin there. The Greens again seeing off Reform despite their gain of 10%. Well, that would have been a first time candidate for them. At a council level, they're not doing especially well at all, are they? Several councillors have been sacked or had to step down so far. They hate each other, they hate everybody around them. We're constantly hearing these stories because, having won so many council seats in the last local elections, they pretty much let any white person with a pulse become a candidate. So well done the Greens. I'll just be very clear, I'm not a Green Party member either, nor have I signed up to your party yet. I'm not ruling out that I might, not in the future. Did I get that the right way around? I'm not ruling out that I might sign up in the future. I think that's the way I should have said it. Yes, but at the moment I am a member of a grassroots socialist party, so I'm either in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess, where things are concerned, if you've ever heard that expression. But essentially, I could only really commit to one party at a time. It would be unfair on either. Anyway, yeah, they said, well, Labour said that they're the only party that can take on reform at risk of having a hernia. When you listen to that one, they're the ones who have opened the door for them in the first place. There probably wouldn't even be a reform party if the former leader of the opposition hadn't been so betrayed by his own colleagues, including the current Prime Minister, Keith Rodney Starmer. So he was wrong again. The Greens, in this example, are doing a pretty good job of that themselves, but this isn't a one-off either. They've held a seat at a by-election in Kenilworth Park in Warwick, with a very good vote share as well, 40%, almost 41%, holding off the Tories there, and Reform. So they hold Kenilworth Park Hill, Warwick, in Warwickshire. Which is kind of in the Midlands-ish of South Midlands. You went to one of the Your Party meetings, Satnav, and it came across exactly how Zara said it was. Is that yeah, the boys' clubs, they barely let women speak, do you think? Well, I would certainly say Corbyn himself is no misogynist. But if that is apparently the case, yeah, they've got to do something about that. That's pretty out of order, isn't it? Can't just allow the men to speak. And that's got to be very clear in the party. No space for transphobia as well, yeah, that's a good point. Idiosyncrasy. Where was I? Where was I? Yeah, the Greens are doing pretty well, as you can see, at a local level. And Zach Polanski's been on fire doing the TV rounds and as well as public speaking as well. So, a couple of examples here. This is him on GMB this week, in case you didn't catch this one.
But what I think we're seeing is not a serious approach. I agree with dialogue. This is not dialogue. This is licking his boots. Ultimately, this is a president who has threatened to throw his toys out the pram if he didn't get a second state visit. And what do you do with a child with bad behaviour? You don't reward that bad behaviour by giving him more. You actually say we're a country who should stand on our own 2 feet, who should be proud of our sovereignty. And you can't have this discussion without talking about Brexit.
Sovereignty,
Nigel Farage,
sovereignty.
Donald Trump, Elon Musk, 3 con men who have ruined this country through Brexit, a catastrophic decision, when actually we should be working with our European neighbours. Just 2 days after Keir Starmer offered this state visit, we saw Donald Trump call Vladimir Putin his friend and shame Zelensky in the White House. So the argument isn't coherent, Penny, that actually Donald Trump is our ally in this, because we should be working with Zelensky and not Putin.
That's true, of course. Good point there from Zark about how we've responded to Trump. You can't ignore the elephant in the room that still is the departure from the European Union either. That's something that Starmer wants to stay silent about mostly, but Polanski he's not afraid to go there.
What we are seeing today, a man with hands stained in blood for an ongoing genocide, having the red carpet, pomp and ceremony all rolled out for him, and we are gathered here united to say this is not in our name. Donald Trump is not welcome here, but one man who has thrown his arms open is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage. Very good reaction. Nigel Farage does not seem to bother about Trump's trade wars, about his banning of books, the so-called free speech champion. He doesn't seem bothered about the genocide in Gaza or his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And that's because Donald Trump is a bully, and Nigel Farage, he's his poodle. And it's not just Trump and Farage, we also have Elon Musk, this trio of con men who are so much a part of Brexit. They represent the inequality in our country, where since the pandemic started, the billionaire wealth in this country has doubled and our assets have been stripped away. And to see these multimillionaires and billionaires, people who are earning more money in their sleep than any of us could possibly imagine, lecture us about British values, about patriotism, is the exact opposite of what we need. What we are seeing today.
Well said, Zach Polanski. Yeah, we've got to be progressive. These people want to live in the past. The reason that Trump and others and people on the right supported Brexit, because it supports their indigenous narrative. They want to act as though you can shut out the rest of the world. And we all know that on the right a lot of that is racially based as well. So a lot of racism and prejudice where that's concerned. And one of the striking hypocrisies of that, air quotes, protest last weekend with Stephen Yaxley and his goons. They're marching through London shouting, you know, put Britain first and all these other slogans. And then ultimately at the end of the day, they gather to idolise a South African who essentially bought the election for Donald Trump in the United States of America. Go figure. Well, it's a pretty simple answer. Fashionbury, as a few people have labelled it, was not attended by people who you might find in the queue for Mensa, let's just put it that way. And Zach Polanski knows that. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want anything to do with billionaires, corruption, dirty money in politics, or the rest of it. So it seems we'll have to hold him to his word where that's concerned. Thanks, Graham, for that super chat. Just going to give that a thumbs up and stuff. Let's big up Graham Turner in the chat, please, everybody, for that generous donation. The thumbs up button flickered between 3 and 4 for a second there, but it's rested on 4. That's good. Thanks for the flags and watermelons in the chats. More about Gaza to come. The latest, including the latest from the Sumud Flotilla. I think they announced recently a record membership as well, didn't they, the Greens? It's gone up even further since Zach became leader. What was that, a fortnight ago? 76,000, I think, was the last figure that I saw. So they are coming on leaps and bounds. A lot more work to be done though to get a solid amount of seats at the next general election. Hedy, thank you very much for the support and that very daring super chat, which I very much approve of. Very bold, very brave. And in 3 weeks and a day, people, I'll be seeing that on quite a few placards myself, as we're down in Parliament Square again, documenting events at the Defend Our Juries protest. You've got some balls on your, Hedy, that's for sure. Let's big up Hedy in the chat, please, everybody, for that bold super chat, which I think I'm obliged to read out because it's a super chat. What can we... let's see. I'll have to think on my feet here. So it says, I oppose genocide, support action. I might have slightly nudged the microphone there, accidentally, whilst I was saying that. Or was I saying it? So on to this falling out. Well, first of all, we knew that the press were going to try and get a bit hyperbolic about it. Here's one example of an article. Just to show you, I won't read through it, but I said this yesterday, we were bound to see this happen. However, Zara Sultana has come out and made an official statement in an interview, actually, with the Canary. Just earlier today, so despite her not passing comment on to mainstream media, she has chosen to open up a bit more on alternative media, which is good. I'll try and email her, ask if she wants to come on. So I'll just dart over to the screen. Let's see what's happening. It's actually not been as ferocious as I predicted.
that's part and parcel of being on the left. We argue, we debate, we discuss everything. And I think that's a really healthy part of our politics, and we don't want to not have that. I think that would be quite unhealthy. What we're seeing is a desperation and an energy, because I think they're both happening at the same time, of this political party to be built, to be created, to be member-led, to be democratic, to be in our communities, to be doing all the things that we desperately want it to do. And obviously people get frustrated, they want things to be happening at a faster pace because they look at the political situation, the political reality we all face. They look at the Labour government, they look at the rise of reform, then they look at people who are struggling to pay their bills, how we have food banks all over the place, you know, more food banks than McDonald's restaurants, and people desperately want to change that material reality that ordinary people are facing. And so I understand the restlessness, I understand the frustration, and I think that is just a natural part of being on the left. This wasn't going to ever be presented as a polished, packaged thing that was already designed in some backroom kind of situation.
Change UK.
Yeah, like a PR company that's already come up with the name, has already come up with the structure. You've got, billionaires backing it. It was always going to be in a very left-wing fashion where it doesn't have, the most polished announcement in the world. But I think that's what makes it authentic. You can tell that it's a genuine commitment to transform politics from a socialist perspective, and that it requires everyone to get involved, and everyone getting involved means over 750,000 opinions, and that's a lot for some people, but I think we can take it on the chin and embrace that and always come out with a great final result because of all of that input. So the discussions that are happening online, the discussions that are happening at events like today in Newcastle are so important, and it's part of this journey that we're all on collectively.
I think it's part and parcel of social media. How often have you seen someone come onto social media and say, I have no strong opinion on this subject? It just doesn't happen. So I think actually there's tremendous unity, because I talk to loads of people in Zoom meetings and on the ground, and everybody says, yeah, of course we want one member, one vote. Yeah, of course we want to be electing officials. Yeah, of course we want regional diversity and all of this. Yeah. And actually on the politics, there is almost no division at all, because it's such a huge space that's been left by the Labour Party trying to outflank Nigel Farage to the right. I never thought I'd have to say those words. That there is space for everybody to come together. And you know what? I reckon if we ended up with a party that was said, look, we're going to nationalise the utilities, we're going to make sure everyone has a decent pay rise, we're going to come right out against any form of racism, xenophobia, ethno-nationalism, and we're going to be pro-peace, then everyone will say, that'll do for me. So the unity is there. I think what you're getting is frustration, and occasionally...
Mainly online, I think you're right, Jamie, that there's a lot of noise, and you'll get some of those criticisms online, but everywhere I've been, whether it's Devon, whether it's in Bristol, whether it's in Coventry, whether it's here in Newcastle, even when I went to New York, the sheer excitement that people have for this is immense. People are so excited, and so it's really important to make this proportionate in terms of what feedback we're getting. And the vast majority of people who are sending me emails, who are engaging on social media, who are speaking to us in real life, are genuinely very, very excited, and they recognise that this is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and moments like this don't come round often, and so we have to seize it.
Right. That should be better where the mic's concerned. Is that coming through? Leftist audio. Sorry about the delay there. Yeah, all's well. Sorry you couldn't hear me reading the article. I think that's where it cut out. All good now though. So let us crack on. What do you think about that interview, by the way? What Zara was saying there? There are going to be disagreements. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have been so public and all over social media. I think they should possibly agree to pipe that down a bit. Just the final word on stats and things. How does this look overall with current projections? Might also give us a bit of a hint about what's happening in the poll on the stream. Look at this. Yeah, Lib Dem currently looking like they're going to come second, but still way behind Reform by this seat projection. Labour with just 73 seats. We went through Wales yesterday. It looks as though Plaid Cymru are going to have control of the Welsh Senedd. Same for the SNP in Scotland. So the stats certainly agree with your votes in the poll. A good 11 seats clear of Starmer's Labour at the moment. Look at that, 338 seats. Labour are ditching 338 seats. I can remember having debates back and forths, or even just responding to trolls and whatever online, pointing out Gordon Brown losing 91 seats in 2010, way back in the day, and now look at that, 338 would completely eclipse that. It was the worst seat result ever for Labour. For anybody who's interested, anyone who tries to tell you that Corbyn's 2019 results were the worst ever for Labour, that's nothing. They were only but 2/3 of the number of seats that Gordon Brown ditched. $338. That's a wipeout. But like Jamie Driscoll said in that interview, you'd never thought the day would come where you'd be mentioning such phrases as Labour trying to outflank Reform to the right. But we live in such times. Just a final bit of UK politics before we get on to these French protests and the reaction from the French police as well. I do have to play this warning just before I get into this because of the subject of the clip I'm going to get into.
Warning. This section of the stream contains details of the inner workings of Peter Mandelson's twisted brain. Anyone who isn't a serpentine weirdo may find the following scenes distressing. No, seriously, it's really bad.
It is. This clip I'm going to play concerns the topic of Mandy's peerage. As we've all been saying, he does deserve to be stripped of it. He should have the whip removed as well. But Juliet Hartley-Brewer, I think it is, in an interview, spoke to somebody from Labour, another peer, and of course they're notoriously not good at saying that they shouldn't exist, that the House of Lords should be abolished. This is another classic example. And also how he tries to defend Mandy's peerage by apparently trying to say that there are already lords who have done as bad or worse than he has, and that it's really difficult to get them out, so why bother, essentially, is what he's saying. Oh, you know, why bother? So this is Lord Baron Fawkes. And if you want to talk about your typical lord, just look at this strawberry-nosed bastard. This is the sort of person who probably pours whiskey on the cornflakes. Let's see what's happening.
Doing the same thing over and over again, being sort of obsequious and slavish to the US and to Trump, does not serve British interests. And,
well, you say, I mean, Tony Blair was accused of being, George Bush's poodle.
Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong clip there. It's this one. It's not. Is it Juliet Hartley-Brewer? Whoever it is, interviewing Lord Baron Fawkes. That was a spoiler alert there.
A new act of Parliament, as you say, to remove him from the House of Lords. It's not. I mean, it's been done, albeit more than 100 years ago. It's not impossible. Why not?
Well, I've looked at it in the case of Michelle Mone, who is being investigated by the National Crime Agency.
Well, yeah, and rightly so, because she's got, hundreds of millions of public money out there on a yacht. So he brings up that case.
It seems it would be very difficult to do that. And to suggest that Peter Mandelson doesn't enhance the reputation of the House of Lords.
Which he doesn't. Have you not heard about the reason that he's had to quit as ambassador? Certainly shouldn't be trivialised. You can't make light of it or water it down. But this guy doesn't like stories being watered down any more than he likes his drinks being watered down. By the looks of that conk. But let's see what this pisshead shit for brains has got to say.
I wonder if someone like Michelle Mone, who is being investigated by the National Crime Agency, or Eugeny Lebedev, the son of a Russian spy, actually enhanced the reputation. So I think you have to be very careful when you make these accusations.
What the hell? So if you've not got rid of those two, you can't get rid of Mandels. Is that some sort of justification for the existence of the House of Lords, or the sort of people who occupy it? And then, oh no, just forget it. It's too difficult. No. I mean, this guy doesn't even know what planet he's living on. He's probably only sober for 2 hours a day. Unbelievable. Baron Fawkes, is that his actual first name as well? So it's Lord Baron, but he's not a baron, his name is Baron. He's a Labour peer, by the way. Seemingly one of the few people coming to Mandy's defence. Yeah, sorry about the mix-up with the clips. That Hartley Brewer one's coming later. She gets the floor wipe with her, by the way, spoiler alert. Over Gaza, which is coming up later on. First off though, people, like I said, over the channel to France. Never shy of taking to the streets, of course, in France. These are the latest protests. A shout out to Socialist for this footage, but it's getting pretty serious down in France. The police, like I said earlier, are being particularly heavy-handed. Let's see what's happening here, people. Sacre bleu. Straight in there with the riot shields, apparently static protesters, and just openly charging at them. They've got batons there as well as helmets. They're treating this crowd as though it's a heavily armed mob. Look at this. Yeah, good point there, Graham. This is somewhat of a projection for what we can expect here in the UK if things continue. Societal collapse, which even from a climate collapse point of view, a lot of people who I'd lend a lot of credit to, I should say as well, professors, high-ranking academics and leading authorities on the matter would say societal breakdown in 15 years purely because of climate change alone. Add all of the socio-political economic wars onto the top of that, and you've got what's on your screens right now. I completely agree with that point, Graham. Unless we get progress, this is coming to a country near you, wherever you are. This part, I believe, is where protesters stormed ministry buildings, and they actually managed to enter ministry buildings as well. Tens, if not hundreds, of people involved in that. I would reservedly say the tens of thousands, but large numbers nonetheless, managing to gain access and involved in this protest. So I think this is in the areas surrounding ministry buildings. You can see there they did have the protesters on the back foot as they let through those bushes there, but you're actually going to see here a real pushback from the protesters, who eventually, despite how, in terms of gear, you know, that certainly favours the police in this situation. But despite all of that, they still managed to get them on the back foot. Just through sheer weight of numbers. Call this people's power. Look at that. Yeah, fuck off back for your butches. Sortez-vous. Faites-vous sauter. Yeah. This is more from the ministry. Urge, if you want to completely overwhelm them. You know, you've got a few guys in a security hut there, what they're going to do against all these yellow vests. There's Palestine flags in there as well. What do you make of that? Yeah, there's barely been a mention of that in the headlines here in the UK. Assault on les cochons, as they probably said. Bravo France. Shout out again to Ghost of Daruti for those clips. Go and check them out on social media. Now, people, we get our investigative hats on with a new feature on the channel. He announces abruptly, this is my left private eye, as we delve into a few suspicious matters from the week.
One more question, sir, about those sacks of gold.
Oh wow, a police chase!
Oh yes, quality investigations coming up, people. On my left private eye, let's see what's happening. I hope you like the intro there. Just bash that one together. Right, so what's happening? Yeah, it's this apparent, alleged Charlie Kirk assassin, Tyler Robinson. These text messages, well, we went into the texts on yesterday's stream. A few other suspicious matters as well. But this video, a great video that's been put together by a channel called Propaganda & Co. I recommend checking out the whole thing. I'm just going to play a segment from it. Which is more or less trying to put what we know about the time frame of events and make that fit with the FBI's official narrative of what's happening, and where there might be some questions as to whether the two quite marry up as well as the FBI might like. Flowsnake, I think it was as well, had concerns about the rifle, the retrieval of the rifle, the location of the rifle before, during and after the assassination. So this does go into that as well. As far as the texts are concerned, I don't really have a great deal to add to what was said on yesterday's stream. Although I think it is mentioned in this video, we now apparently know who is suggested is the lover / roommate of Tyler Robinson. Again, apparently. But that does come up. This is a great vid in granular detail. Fair play to Propaganda and Co. Once again, you can tell that they've put a lot of effort into putting this vid together. It more or less speaks for itself, so I'll try not to interrupt. It's quite a long one, but I do want to know your thoughts as you see this. So let me know in the chat, people. There's some pretty interesting points coming up. Let's see what's happening. My left private eye.
In this video, we are going to explore all the details the FBI have released about the shooter thus far and make sense of the narrative the authorities are attempting to establish. We're going to talk about the route that Tyler allegedly took to assassinate Kirk. We're going to talk about the rifle, the text messages, and the information war raging over how to interpret Kirk's final days. So buckle up, because this video is going to be a long one.
I'm just playing this.
Now, my intention with this video is not to suggest that Tyler Robinson is innocent, nor is it to suggest that he is guilty. I simply want to present the information that the FBI, the mainstream media, and independent journalists have shared about Tyler in order to give you a greater understanding of the situation. Some of this information is subject to change. Much of it already has since the beginning of this saga last week. So take everything with a massive grain of salt. Let's first start with what the FBI claims Tyler did on the day of the shooting. The FBI claims that Tyler Robinson woke up on the morning of the shooting, took a rifle, which some are describing as either a Remington or a sporterized Mauser 30-06 that was gifted to him, potentially by his own grandfather. Robinson then drove approximately 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on traffic conditions, the route he decided to take and whether or not he stopped for any reason, from Washington, Utah to Utah Valley University campus in Orem, Utah. According to TMZ, a ring door from a house nearby the campus captured the suspect wearing a different outfit walking across the street near the university at 8:07 a.m. This is very important. There are two things to note here. One, if this is indeed the same person, then the suspect mapped out his path a few hours before the shooting. This is important because, as we will explore in just a bit, the suspect took a very direct path from the street to the university, to the roof, to the gunshot, to his escape. So, if Tyler truly mapped out his route a couple of hours before, then there should be video showing him on campus and near the roof at 8 a.m. in the morning. As of now, however, we do not have any footage that confirms that. 2. If it is indeed Tyler, then it means he would have had to leave his home in Washington, Utah at 4 or 4:30 in the morning. Again, it is a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from where he lives to the university campus in Orem, Utah. This is how and why he would have been there early enough in Orem, Utah to be captured walking across this house. Now fast forward 3.5 hours. At approximately 11:49 a.m., the Ring camera of the same house near campus captures the suspect limping across the street. It is believed that he was limping because he had the rifle tucked into his pants, presumably in one of his pant legs. At this bush, he takes a right and cuts through the grass in the direction of this parking lot. A minute later, at 11:50 a.m., a UVU surveillance camera captured the suspect walking across a grassy area north of Campus Drive. At this time, the suspect takes out what appears to be his phone and looks at it for about 3 minutes. It is unclear what he was doing on his phone. He could have been taking a phone call, checking Google Maps, or reading text messages. We simply do not know. At 11:53, he places his phone back into his right pocket and enters this pedestrian tunnel, which takes him underground and across the street. It's unclear exactly what happens over the next 9 minutes because...
Sorry to interrupt, just to answer a question in the chat there more. At his hearing, was that yesterday or the day before? He didn't actually enter a plea, he didn't have a lawyer. He might have decided not to enter a plea because he didn't have a lawyer. The fact that he didn't have one, I think, is even your standard representative. If you don't have a firm that you can use or whatever, say what you will about that, but that's what happened at court, and he goes back on the 29th, I believe. So he hasn't entered any plea so far. He confirmed his name and a few other personal details at the brief court hearing.
As it takes him quite a while to walk from this area to this area where he is then captured by cameras again.
I'll just skip back. This is pretty... So he's got these 9 minutes here. And it gets into how it takes him to do a long time to do things that shouldn't have, and how things that should have taken a long time appear to take place rather quickly. So pay attention here to these 9 minutes and what happens afterwards.
It's unclear exactly what happens over the next 9 minutes because it takes him quite a while to walk from this area to this area where he is then captured by cameras again. He could be walking slowly because of the alleged rifle he's keeping in his pants, or perhaps he's having second thoughts. We just don't know. So 9 minutes later, at 12:02, cameras capture him here on the north side of the Losey Center. He seems to drag his feet again because this time it takes him 13 minutes to get from here to the southeastern side of the Losey Center, where he finally enters the building through these doors at 12:15. Now at this point, the suspect picks up the pace. Where it took him 9 minutes and 13 minutes before to cover a short distance, it now only takes him 2 minutes to move across the entire building. He is observed at a stairway leading to the common area of the Losey Center. I couldn't find any clear photos of the common area of the Losey Center, but I called the university and they told me that it is apparently on the second floor.
Now we're talking about someone who apparently didn't attend this university, has never attended, wasn't a former pupil. Anybody who's been in further education knows that you certainly need passes to enter any of the buildings, these kind of buildings in universities. I'm sure it's the same in the United States. How does he manage to immediately find his way to where he wants to be? The roof, that is, within 2 minutes, if he's not a student, and therefore you wouldn't expect he's familiar with the building itself. As he pointed out, he's found out that area that was on the second floor. Did Tyler Robinson know that that was there on the second floor? How does he seem to have this advanced knowledge of the building to be able to work his way around there in just 2 minutes?
According to the FBI, there is a short wall, presumably outside, that Tyler jumped in order to get onto the north side of the roof.
But we've been over this before again. how easy is it to access this roof? Surely your average student even doesn't have access to that. You'll have caretakers, people like that, who are allowed. There might be some sort of alarmed fire door, but it would be alarmed. His presence there, his entry through the only way in, would raise an alarm. And then, as he said, he had to make a short jump across to where he actually... I think you can kind of make it out there in the picture where that would have been.
To the FBI, there is a short wall, presumably outside, that Tyler jumped in order to get onto the north side of the roof. So within 2 minutes, by 12:17, Tyler is finally on the north side of the roof, crouching down near a wall. They don't specify which wall, but we are assuming that it is this one right here. For 5 minutes, the suspect stays in this area of the roof. During this 5-minute window, it is believed that he pulled out the rifle and prepared to make his shot. Suddenly, at 12:22, the suspect begins running to the west side of the roof. The notable limp is now gone, according to the FBI. In less than 1 minute, the suspect is in a prone position facing west towards...
This, according to the FBI, is starting to sound a little bit like the old Israel says.
the courtyard where Charlie Kirk was located under the tent. A person on campus captured video footage of the suspect on the roof laying down in a prone position on the corner of the building.
Get right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there?
How does he know where that stage is going to be? Even if you find out that someone is a prominent figure, such as Kirk, is coming to university, how do you know where it's going to be? Do they always have the talks in that specific part? Is that where they always set up outdoor stages? Maybe that is the case, but if it isn't, then that's a really good guess from Robinson. And as far as we know, he made his way straight there. He didn't have to sort of have a look around. Oh, well, okay, there are the stages. Well, I better go up on this building then. No, this is not like where it was going to happen had supposedly been pre-planned for days, possibly weeks. Who knows? That's something that doesn't quite add up to me either.
Just saying. He just ran from over. Where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
This must have been mere seconds before the shooting because according to the FBI, the suspect was only in this position for about 1 minute. Then, at 12:23, Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck.
We had a flag and we had it so it was positioned above the tent so it would be in the camera. It made us move.
What was that?
Oh my God! He just got shot! Holy shit! Holy fuck!
Holy fucking shit, let's get the fuck out of here.
Thank you very much, Andy Carter, celebrating 15 months of standard membership. That's awesome. Always great to see you on the streams as well. Hope you're brewing well. Thanks for kicking your weekend off here on the Brews at 10. 15 months. Awesome. Awesome.
Seconds later, the suspect stood up and began running back towards the north side of the building. In this viral video here from across the courtyard, the suspect is seen moving across the roof. Within 1 minute, at 12:24, the suspect arrives at the northeast corner of the building and approaches the edge of the rooftop.
Where's this limp at now? He's going to get into that. There's very granular in the detail as well about the possibility of a fold-up rifle getting into the model, the Mauser .30-06, which is supposed to be. He's making very good with his legs across that roof top. No suggestion of a limp whatsoever. So if you go along that line of thinking, you can see clearly he makes his way all the way across. He's either managed to fold up the rifle he used, or he's disposed of it to be able to run with a clear gate without being interrupted by the rifle.
Within 1 minute, at 12:24, the suspect arrives at the northeast corner of the building and approaches the edge of the rooftop. He places a dark-colored item on the edge of the rooftop and carefully lowers himself before dropping onto the ground. A couple of seconds later...
And we pointed out before, you couldn't do that particular move if you had it down your legs, as it suggested he did earlier. As he made his way there, that's the apparent explanation for this limp from the Ring, the supposed Ring doorbell footage. But if he had the means to fold up a rifle, why didn't he do that to be able to get there unhindered? Surely you stand out to passers-by and people in a crowd if you're walking with a limp more than you do without one. So why only choose the option where you can freely move and freely run after you've carried this out, as opposed to on your way there? That doesn't make sense to me either. So bearing in mind at this point, he's either somehow left the rifle or tossed it off a building, discarded of it that way, or he's potentially carrying it or whatever, but he definitely doesn't have it down his pant leg or trouser leg.
Later, still at 12:24, the suspect is seen moving across the grass towards Campus Drive. He pauses for cars before he crosses the street towards this wooded area. According to the FBI, it is believed the suspect dropped off the rifle in this wooded area. That night, police found a rifle in what they describe as a dark-colored towel. According to authorities, the rifle was a Mauser 98 .30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. During the suspect's time in the wooded area where the rifle was dropped off, it is also believed that he changed his clothes, eventually discarding the original outfit somewhere else. Now let's quickly recap all of this. Per the FBI narrative, Tyler limped.
Let's just look at those two pictures. If you're going to change your clothes to avoid detection, I would say that's a pretty crap effort. A different coloured t-shirt. He's got a cap. Very similar sort of style, except he's got shorts in one and jeans in the other. Is that white shoes in both? The same. Well, if it's only got one bag, assuming he kept the change of clothes in the bag. So you can't change the bag for that reason. But is that a cap in the second picture or a hoodie? Or a beanie.
His clothes, eventually discarding the original outfit somewhere else. Now let's quickly recap all of this. Per the FBI narrative, Tyler limped across campus carrying a bolt-action rifle inside of his pants. He jumps a wall towards the roof, pulls the rifle out of his pants, runs across the roof again, settles down into a prone position, and just 1 minute after getting into his spot, he fires at Kirk directly in the neck from anywhere between 150 to 200 yards. Now it's time to ask some questions. Is it possible for Tyler to run across the roof, get into position with adrenaline rushing, zero in on Kirk, and take the shot with perfect accuracy? Maybe.
Well, that is a very good question, especially one that I'd love to know your thoughts about in the chat. I would have strong reservations about the likely success of that, however good a shot it may or may not be. You've got to remember as well, this was just one shot. Would he be that good? Is it that well timed? Let's just hear that question again in full, because I think it's a very good point.
From anywhere between 150 to 200 yards. Now it's time to ask some questions. Is it possible for Tyler to run across the roof, get into position with adrenaline rushing, zero in on Kirk, and take the shot with perfect accuracy? Maybe. This is hard for me to believe, but I can't call it impossible. Let's ask another question. Could Tyler have really had the rifle stuffed into his pants? In these photos of the suspect, we don't see any evidence of a rifle tucked into his pants, which are tight enough to at least reveal his cell phone in his pocket. If the barrel of the rifle were tucked into his pants, it would be difficult to bend his right knee here and his left knee here. But don't take this as confirmation of anything, because we do not have the timestamps of these photos shared by the authorities.
Well, he's going down the steps, isn't he? In one and up steps in another. I'm not sure about that. We know that he didn't take the steps to get off the roof.
The issue that arises from not having these timestamps. If these photos of Tyler are from before the shooting, then according to the FBI...
Oh, sorry, this isn't from that same building, is it? So... Well, yeah, there. For that model, you'd have a lot of difficulty walking up or down steps. You'd essentially have to keep one leg straight, and you'd have this weird sticky out leg thing going on. You won't be bending your knees so freely as Robinson appears to be here, if that is Robinson. Like I said in the video, I'm not any more convinced at this point that the people in the CCTV are him any more than I am that the person in the CCTV of the CEO assassin is Luigi Mangione. Prove it. It's got to, innocent until proven guilty.
Narrative, the rifle would presumably be in his possession, and we could therefore poke holes in the idea that they were somehow in his pants.
Do they look like glasses? He did have glasses on in some of the other pictures, didn't he?
Or even his book bag. But if the photos are from after the shooting, then it's possible the rifle has already been dropped off in the woods. So we can't look at these photos without verified timestamps and use it as proof that he never had the rifle tucked into his pants. Now, in the ring video footage captured outside this home, we do see the suspect limping with a slight bend of his right knee. So if the rifle were in his pants, we can assume from this footage that it was in his right pant leg. His right hand seems to be holding his pants up or out, potentially to keep the pants baggy enough so that an impression of the rifle couldn't be noticed as he limped by. And his shirt is long enough and perhaps baggy enough for the stock of the rifle to be concealed in his abdomen area. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If we revisit the photos of the suspect at the two different staircases, we don't see any rifle barrel or stock in his pants or underneath his shirt. But again, since there are no timestamps of these photos, we do not know if this was before or after the shooting, so we cannot commit to the idea that he never had a rifle in his pants. The suspect did also have a large book bag on. It was possible that the rifle, or at least parts of it, were kept in there. But let's revisit the rifle. The FBI claims the rifle was found wrapped in a dark towel. However, in the image released by authorities, we don't see a dark towel. The rifle is on a cardboard box, long enough to hold the rifle.
Yeah, where's this towel? Why is it? It's there in a box. Where's this box appeared from? Uncreased, unblemished. It's certainly not been folded up and stored in a rucksack, has it?
The box has little wear and tear, suggesting that it is brand new. It could be that the authorities brought this box in order to collect the rifle, or I'll let you put the tinfoil hat on. Going back to the book bag, the only way the rifle could have been placed inside is if the rifle was somehow foldable. According to this self-proclaimed gun expert speaking to mainstream media, custom guns can be broken down in just 2 seconds.
Quickly, if it is broken down, because it doesn't look like he's jumping with a long rifle tucked in his leg. It looks like it's got to be in that backpack. So how quickly could he break it down if he needed to break it down?
A second or two.
What?
Literally just push a button and wrap it around, push another button and wrap it back. They're designed to be able to be put into full length mode or compact mode extremely quickly.
But the barrel cannot be folded. The stock of the rifle could potentially fold like this.
You are able to purchase a folding stock adapter from MDT, which is a very big deal. Basically, it just acts as a coupler between the chassis system itself and the butt stock.
But in this image, it does not seem as though the stock of the rifle is foldable. I found an almost identical Mauser for sale online. The stock version also isn't foldable. So there isn't any reason to believe that the rifle could have been folded. What I did find on the gun online, however, were screws. This is interesting because the FBI claims that the suspect left behind a screwdriver on the roof. The screws can disconnect the trigger guard, which is this little round area here where the trigger is, and potentially the scope. Removing these items would theoretically help the suspect keep the entire rifle in his pants with the stock of the gun in his abdomen area. Again, I'm not saying that's what he did, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. During the 5 minutes the suspect was on the roof, he could have been rescrewing either the trigger guard or the scope back on. But here's the thing, for rifles to be accurate, the scope has to be zeroed or calibrated. Zeroing your scope is dialing in your reticle so that the point of aim matches the point of impact. If these do not match, you will miss the target you are aiming at. To zero in, you have to mount your scope, torque the base and rings, set it for proper eye relief, level the reticle, and bore sight it. After all of this, you then need to test fire the rifle at different ranges, waiting for the barrel to cool down in between shots so that you can get an accurate alignment of the point of aim and the point of impact. For this reason, shooters will often have something called a quick detach mount for quickly swapping different kinds of scopes while maintaining accuracy, because the process of detaching a scope could affect its alignment.
Now, what's important to remember when you remove these, just remember a specific amount of slots, because if you do move it forward and back, then obviously yes, that is going to change to 0. So just remember, so I can see here, I remember 2 slots. If I remember 2 slots there and that slides in there, that will fit in exactly the same place there. All I've done is say just release those 2 there, and that simply rolls off like that.
Now, I'm not an expert, so I can't tell you if there is a QD on this rifle. It doesn't look like it to me, though. But if you're an expert, let me know in the comment section. Now, if the suspect removed the scope beforehand and reattached it on the roof or kept it in his pants, it would not be impossible that there was still an alignment, but it does add another layer of complexity to the shooting. So in summary, there are quite a few questions that need clarification. Did the suspect really carry the rifle in his pants? Did the suspect reattach the scope onto his rifle in a way that maintained accuracy during his 5 minutes on the roof? Or would keeping the rifle with the scope attached in his pants have affected the accuracy and alignment? Is it likely that the shooter was able to run across the roof, get into a prone position, control his breathing, aim at Kirk, and fire accurately in 1 minute? When the suspect jumps off the roof, is he holding the rifle covered in a dark towel like the FBI claimed? When the authorities found the rifle, was there ever a dark towel? Is there any surveillance footage on campus that can corroborate the idea that the suspect was mapping out the area like he supposedly was at 8:07 a.m. the morning of the shooting? Why did the suspect take 9 minutes and 13 minutes to travel a short distance, but then only 2 minutes to get on the roof? Let me know your answers in the comment section. In this video,
a really great in-depth video though from Propaganda & Co, like I said, raising a lot of questions. If you're watching this back later on, I'd love to know what you think in the comments as well. Thanks a lot for your contributions in the chat. I'll put a link to this full video in the description of the stream as well, in case anybody wants to check it out. At that point, he does go into the supposed alleged text that was sent between Robinson and his supposed alleged roommate/lover. Definitely worth a subscription there. Shout out to Graham. Hope you're all well there, sending good vibes your way. A good point about the limp there as well in the chat. That could have been because of the height from which he had to drop. But again, you'd have to plan that out as well, where he's going to land, the likelihood of injury. Shout out again to Propaganda & Co for that one. Yeah, gun control. It's probably the only solution. Ironically, that's not what Kirk himself would have wanted. There you go. Yeah, America is going down the pan. One channel suggested that the sight on the scope was set too far back in the picture, so the recoil would have got into his eye and given him a right shiner, which suggests it might have been reassembled in haste. But yeah, that's right, Aaron. There's well over 250 million guns in America. They're saying that was his granddad's as well, you know, his grandfather's rifle. I don't know about that as well. That's in the text as well. That's one of the suspicious things about the text. I do have to move on though. Just gone midnight now on the stream. Let's get updated on Gaza. Let's start with this. This is the Juliet Hartley Brewer interview with Ashok Kumar, who gives her a right pasting. She's so, you know, pro-Israel bias in the narrative of this. It's unbelievable, but Ashok Kumar does a really good job. So we're going to check this one out first and then a bit more and into the Flotilla.
Doing the same thing over and over again, being sort of obsequious and slavish to the US and to Trump, does not serve British interests. And,
well, you say, I mean, Tony Blair was accused of being, you know, George Bush's poodle, but at the end of the day, we are no longer, you know, ruling most of the world. We are playing second fiddle to our much more powerful economically and militarily, you know, cousins across the Atlantic. Makes quite a lot of sense to keep in with them, doesn't it?
Why?
Why? Because if it's not America, who do you think it's going to be?
No, but we don't get anything material out of it.
Do we not get anything material out of it?
Not really.
No, we don't. We get nothing. We just get told what to do, and we get fuck all in return. And if we don't say thank you and appease Trump enough, then we get higher tariffs. And her, oh well, who else do you think it's going to be? Well, I suppose she's implying what, China? Who else are we supposed to suck up to?
What it does is it alienates potential allies in other parts of the world.
Who are allies?
We could have a better relationship with China. We don't need.
Oh yeah, we should absolutely focus on having a much better relationship with a totalitarian murderous state. 100%.
Like, are you still talking about the United States of America? Well, you know, make your mind up.
Hey, what is this moralism? I mean, it's not a murderous.
What do you mean, what is this moralism?
Is it any more murderous than the Americans who are financing the genocide in Palestine? Absolutely not.
Sorry, the Americans. The Americans are responsible for genocide in Palestine.
She's not exactly current affairs, is she? Yes, they are. They are the biggest financial backers of Israel, who this week it was officially announced by the United Nations are committing a genocide. Did that not come across her desk?
So
Julia, did you just wake up?
No, I literally didn't hear what you said because it was so visible. Sorry.
No, it's not. The Americans finance, defend diplomatically to the hilt. They're
Israel, the state of Israel,
well.
yes.
Of course.
As we should all defend the state of Israel.
Okay, yes, the murderous regime.
Murderous regime.
You're the only person who still defends that.
I'm the only person who still defends Israel.
That is outside of the state of Israel. The only thing people will remember you for, Julia, is your, vociferous defense of mass murder.
I would be proud if the only thing I was remembered for was my defense of the only democratic state in the Middle East. I would...
No. That's not how history is going to judge you. You see, they always make false associations. What the only democracy in the Middle East. It's barely a democracy. Anyway, Israel, what Israel's going to be remembered as is a genocidal illegal occupier, and you're apparently a supporter of that.
I
would die
proud of the Holocaust in Gaza. That's what you'll be known
There's
for.
not a Holocaust in Gaza.
Yes,
There's
it
not
is.
a
It's
genocide
disgusting.
in Gaza.
And
There is. As much as you might not like it, that's what the United Nations have officially said. Denial isn't just a river in Egypt.
What's the sorry, Ashok, you're supposedly, I mean, it always starts nicely, our conversations, doesn't it? Suppose you're an associate professor at a university.
Yes.
Do you know what the meaning of genocide means? Do you know what the meaning of Holocaust means? What is the population of Gaza now, as opposed to October the 7th, 2023?
This is just standard line.
No, it's a reasonable question. Israel is a massive they are a strong military power with amazing capability. If there was a genocide in Gaza, their population would have gone down, right?
Well, you can go and argue that to the United Nations, but it's not going to change that official declaration. That's quite pathetic from, Haiti Spewer. Good point there, Floor Snake. She only interrupts to condescend because she's one of these people who thinks it's all about her. Ignore the facts. You're going to change what you can see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears, because Juliet Hartley-Brew is so good at impressing and persuading people, as she condescends to them, of course. She thinks that she can get him on board. That's an interesting tactic.
It was a genocide. The UN came out yesterday and said it was a genocide.
Have you seen that report? Have you read it?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. How many times does it mention hostages?
Oh, you forget the sausage. Okay, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who have been illegally killed. Again, you can't just ignore the fact that a country that's illegally occupied has the right to defend itself by any means. That was what happened on October the 7th. They did have the right to do that. There's also the Hannibal Directive, if you want to talk about that. There was the, Kirk mentioned it himself just 24 hours before he was assassinated, about which orders may or may not have been given. Do you want to bring that up? No. Juliet doesn't want to talk about that. She just wants to focus on what is certainly not balanced against a genocide. Or worse than, as she's implying. The report wouldn't feature the sausages because the report would be about Israel. Israel didn't take any Israeli citizens hostage on October 7th, 2023, did they? Just checking everything's okay with the studio. Let me know you can... just one sec. We're back there. I think YouTube Studio has just decided to reset itself. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Sorry if there was a... I think we had an interruption there. Sorry, the YouTube Studio just decided to reset itself. But where was I? She was talking about October the 7th there, like I said, just completely ignoring the Hannibal Directive and other such things. My main point was The report detailed genocidal acts carried out by Israel. They wouldn't contain anything to do with the sausages because Israel didn't take any Israeli citizens hostage. So why would it be in that report? The report doesn't concern that whatsoever. God, she's really detached from reality, isn't she? So probably most of the 1,200 people, yeah, were killed by the Hannibal Directive. Was there a stand-down order? That's the question Charlie Kirk was asking the day before his assassination. For example, illegal occupation much? The right to resist illegal occupation much? No, don't want to talk about that. This is just so debunked now.
Why does that matter?
How many times does it mention the October 7th massacre?
Why should it?
How many times does it mention tunnels?
The genocide is
How many
occurring
times does it mention
from
human
Israel.
shields?
Genocide is occurring.
It will actually, it will probably bring up the fact, look at her face, she thinks that she's got, it's the gotcha moment. Look at the face. This is the sort of the 5 laughter emojis from the troll on social media sort of phase that she's going, you know, she did 2, 3, 4, 5. It's all that she's got. Well, Israel have been shown to use human shields, but Hamas haven't. She's just going through the list now. She's just really going through the motions.
The human shields, yeah, we're going to obliterate entire hospitals because there are human shields in there. How does that even work? So if someone kidnaps someone in this country, let's just say, puts them in a hospital, we're going to blow up the whole hospital? Like, how are you even defending this still? It's outrageous.
I mean, we don't do that, and neither does Israel.
We don't do that.
How
Israel
on
does
earth
that.
is Israel, a very competent military state, committing genocide in Gaza, and yet the population in Gaza has gone up?
The population hasn't gone up.
It hasn't. It's got. Oh my goodness. It's not that difficult to calculate. So it's 2.5. It was 2.5 million people, and now it's probably under 2. And part of the charges against Israel concerns the prevention of birth, to the extent that it's a war crime. So how are births going to go up if they're being prevented as part of the genocide? Where's she getting these statistics from? You can see the agony in Ashok's face there. I share that pain. I'm with you there, brother. This is difficult to hear from Juliet Hartley-Brewer. Very, very cringe. She might not take 5 minutes to read through the official report properly, listen to special rapporteurs, so on and so forth. She's just being fed debunked bullshit to try and recycle again. That's all that she can do. She's a tactless hack.
Where are you getting that data from? From the Israeli state? All of
Where are you getting your data from? Hamas terrorists?
What do you mean?
From the United fucking Nations, you stupid fucking bitch. Jesus Christ. She thinks she's so clever as well. Look at the face. Look at the... Oh my...
Hamas terrorists. It's been backed up by every single international aid organization.
Has it?
And yeah, but they don't allow any journalists in there. That's the game.
Every time he says a fact, is it? Is it? It's like if this was today, it's Friday. Is it? Is it? Or did Hamas tell you it was Friday? No, it is. It is. Just look at a calendar. Just get out your phone. It's even on your phone. Just look anywhere. Is it? Your name's Juliet Hartley-Brewer. Is it? Any stated fact. She can't let it... Who told you? Who said that? It's... For God's sake, cloth ears. It's officially been declared by the United Nations, which is more or less the highest decision makers in the land, and they certainly have more authority and more expertise than Juliet Hartley-Brewer or any other shithouse at fucking Talk TV.
Plenty of journalists in there. You don't trust Al Jazeera?
We don't allow any outside journalists in there.
Al Jazeera is in. Al Jazeera is in.
Yeah, all of their reporters have been murdered by
No, they
Israel.
haven't.
Yes, they
No,
have.
they haven't.
Yes, they
Al
have.
Jazeera has reporters in.
They've killed more reporters in
Most
Gaza
of them,
than
well,
World
actually, an
War
awful
I,
lot,
World War
awful
II,
lot of
and the
them are
Vietnam
actually,
War combined.
awful lot of them have actually been Hamas operatives. Some of them are actually.
No, they're just journalists. They're just journalists. It's pathetic.
Involved in the October 7th massacre. Proven document.
There's no evidence of that. All you do is you
Ashok,
come
you're
on and
literally.
you're a mouthpiece for the Israeli state.
I'm a mouthpiece for the
you're a
Israeli
mouthpiece.
state.
You're just a mouthpiece. You don't.
You're
think
a
you haven't said
mouthpiece for
one
terrorists,
You
then.
haven't said one critical thing. You're
I
a
mean,
mouthpiece for a terrorist state.
I'm literally
It's a terrorist
stating
state.
facts that are
Yes, no, you're
provable.
not. No,
They're
you're not.
How is there a genocide, and why would Israel be so uniquely incompetent at committing genocide
Oh no,
in Gaza?
they're competently doing it. They've obliterated every single building that's above 4 floors. Like why 93% of buildings have been destroyed in Gaza.
That's not so. Rafah is completely destroyed. Why was it destroyed? Because
Oh, let me guess. All the buildings were made of hummus.
all of the buildings were booby-trapped with IEDs by Hamas.
All of the buildings were booby-trapped.
Well, I must be psychic.
You really believe that?
In Rafah, yeah.
You actually believe every single building in Rafah was booby-trapped.
Hamas have been pretty open about this stuff, mate. They film it.
It's getting desperate now. She's looking across the studio for ideas at this point. Someone feed me some more bullshit. They put it on TikTok. The way that the IDF do when they've just killed a bunch of kids or demolished another residential block. What sort of an absolute sick person still keeps trying to put these arguments forward? How does somebody like this even get on television in the first place?
Not even Israel saying this. Who's saying this? I think you'll find the military are making that very clear. Ashok.
Yeah.
What do you make of Keir Starmer recognising a Palestinian state and saying he could? Wait for the question.
Yeah.
Waiting until after Trump has left the country because he knows that's something that Donald Trump will disapprove of. Does that show he's got a spine or that he's more of a poodle?
Obviously, Starmer's a spineless, obsequious factotum. It doesn't even matter. But the point is that, we've continued to do surveillance over Gaza on behalf of Israel. We've continued to arm Israel. We've continued to train Israeli soldiers.
of their aid.
And now we're going to recognize Palestine. What does it mean to recognize Palestine when they've destroyed any remnants of what could be Palestine?
That's like saying we only did 1% genocide. You know what? We only did. No, we do a lot more than is on record. I'm sure.
So it doesn't mean anything. It's just it's meaningless.
So they shouldn't do it then?
Well, do it if you want. Don't do it if you don't. But if you want to really have an impact, stop arming and stop surveilling on behalf of Israel.
But 1%,
genocide.
1% of arms to Israel come from the UK. I mean, we've already got an arms embargo. For goodness' sake, it doesn't make any difference. The Israelis are able to continue
30% of the munition of the materials for the F-35, which is the main.
Why do we have so many Elbit weapons manufacturing plants in the UK then? If it's just only this 1%. Daily spy runs from Akuri and all of this. She's talking out of her arse.
Jet that flies and bombs Gaza, including 2,000 bombs, including 2,000-pound bombs that obliterate everything within a 100-yard radius, are delivered to Israel by Britain. They're produced in Britain. So we could stop doing that.
We could stop doing that. And do you think that would make a difference when Israel are fighting an existential war against Hamas terrorists? Do you think
existential war by murdering 25,000 children? Probably that's the official.
You want to get existential? They've admitted themselves that they want to wipe them all out. Israel have said that themselves. If there's any existential threat to Israel, they've brought it upon themselves. It is a failed experiment in the first place. It was created by countries that didn't have the authority to set it up. But at the time, Palestine was the only country in the world that would accept those Jewish refugees. no country in Europe. They're claiming that they have had sympathy for those refugees, and that's why created Israel in the first place, along with the United States. But oh no, sorry, you can't come here. You're all going to have to go to this other place. It was the only place that accepted them. That's how it went down historically. You need to read up on that. And now it's this. The small area of Palestine that they were given, they've completely expanded from there and left just two small pockets left, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, which are now being obliterated as well. Don't talk about existential threats to Israel. Put a brain into a sheep's body, it'd fucking moo.
Official figure. No, it's a Hamas figure.
Unofficial.
It's a Hamas figure.
Everything Hamas. That's just so tired. No one buys anymore.
Where do you think the figures come from?
You call everything Hamas. UN is Hamas.
UN is a Hamas apologist. Yes. Where do you think the figures come from?
Like, do you just become Hamas the minute?
Where do the figures come from?
Stop murder?
Where do you think the figures come from?
Every single international organization backs the figures up. No, but then they don't allow any outside journalists in. So then anything that comes out.
How would journalists?
There were always accurate figures. They always have been accurate figures.
Collate the numbers. That's not the journalists don't collate the numbers.
If anything, the death toll's underestimated. You're not counting people who are left under the rubble, for example.
So they can kill as many people as they want, and you can just say all of it is Hamas. So any information that's coming out of Gaza is Hamas. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's a statement of fact. There is no information that comes out.
Therefore, there's no legitimacy, no deaths happening. There's nothing bad happening.
I never claimed that
there's
at
everything
all.
coming.
Okay, so if she says that's provable, that insists a set of data that's contradictory to what the health ministry has said. But as I just mentioned, there are no such assessments being made. And they don't let journalists in, for example.
Out of there is Hamas.
Do you not think it's strange that we see so much footage?
Utterly disgusting that you see so much video, so much footage, live streaming a genocide.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll leave it there. That's the end of the clip anyway. But she's certainly fucking strange. Not right in the head. Sounded like Zippy Hottabelly on crack. Speaking of which, it's been good to see the back of her this week, hasn't it? The former ambassador, Zippy Hottabelly. Well done, Ashok Kumar. A decent job of trying to get a word in edgeways with that wailing psychopath there. Just more on Gaza and the Flotilla. As frustrating as watching that interview might be, this this from The Onion that I came across later might raise a smile at least. Quote from Netanyahu: "These so-called genocide experts have probably never committed a genocide in their lives." Thought that one was worth sharing. As well as this, I mentioned the Together for Palestine concert that took place this week. This was one of the appearances from a well-known face, Benedict Cumberbatch, who read out a poem from a Palestinian writer. So let's check this out, one of the many acts. I think they've got the whole concert up on YouTube now, if you want to go back and catch up with that.
On this land, there are reasons to live. The return of April. Red at early dawn. The thoughts of women about their men. The writings of Aeschylus. The beginning of love. Moss clinging to a stone. mothers balancing on the notes of a flute, and the fear of the conquerors from memory. On this land, there are reasons to live. The endings of September. A woman leaving her 40s behind with the blushed ripeness of an apricot. A moment of sun dancing in a prison cell. A cloud that becomes a flock of wild creatures. The cries of people to those who ascend their death. And the fear of the tyrants from songs.
غيم يقلد سربا من الكائنات.
On this land, there are reasons to live. This land, the Lady of Lands, the motherland of beginnings, the motherland of all ends. She was known as Palestine. She forevermore will be known as Palestine. My land, my lady, you are a reason to live.
Benedict Cumberbatch there, one of the many celebrities who appeared at the concert. Spanning all generations as well, from Billie Eilish to Brian Eno, who put the event together at Wembley Arena. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Strong point there, Moshi, but yeah, that is indeed a fact. No controversy in that. Yeah, legend Brian Eno. I've had the pleasure of sort of working with him once or twice. He's had projects here in Manchester, as well as being a great producer and pioneer of sound landscaping and ambient music. Great humanitarian as well, it goes without saying also. Speaking of well-known faces, I've got the latest update from Ty Hickey, who I'm sure regular viewers and others will be familiar with. So this is his latest update from the Flotilla.
Musa, my man, thank you for joining me on my series where I talk to people who are stuck on the same boat as me, possibly going to their death.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, you didn't have much choice.
I'm Musa from Malaysia, so I am the founder of NGO. The name in Malaysia is Cinta Salam Malaysia. Love Salam is Salam in Malaysia. We are so proud to be here. We're not bringing our our NGO, so our name myself. We bring Malaysia as a whole.
Yes. Yeah. And it's such an obvious point for me straight away in terms of comparison is I'm from Ireland, which is seen as a really strong supporter of Palestine, but our government doesn't do anything in terms of real action. So for instance, on this trip you have the full diplomatic support of your Prime Minister. When we were in Tunisia and we had unexpected delays, the Malaysian delegation stepped in and put everyone up, not just Malaysians, put everyone up, fed us. That for me is a solidarity with substance. So what does it mean for you personally? So we know it means a lot for Malaysia, but
just quickly on that, yeah, this is an international effort, and there are over 50 vessels now involved with this, and they've been very clear, a lot of these nations, that if there's any interference from the IDF from Israel, that's going to create diplomatic situations. And countries have hinted that they're not going to rule out any sort of military intervention to this as well.
You as a human being, why are you potentially risking your life?
This is about humanity. They are being killed. There are a lot of genocides happening everywhere. There are starvation happens, and so this is why we as Malaysian and me myself.
And you have a lot to lose. You have a young family, and would it be fair to say there's another child on the way?
I left my wife. I have my cute kids, 4 years old, and my wife also pregnant. So you know, it's so hard for us to do this kind of humanitarian job that are very dangerous.
Thank you so much. My final question is, do you believe we're going to get there, or is it a harebrained scheme?
We put everything here. We left all of our stuff behind. You know, you only bring that food that we maybe gonna throw it in the sea, but I think that's not the thing that you have to think about. The most important thing, we're already on the board, and the world is talking about our movement.
Yes.
And also the Palestinians, we give hope to them. You know, they are waiting at the shore of the Gaza. So this is something I think no one talking about them maybe for the 2 or 3 months, because the war has been too long.
Yes.
So right now we are coming and we say to our brother and sister in Gaza, يا إخواننا فلسطينيين إن شاء الله نحن جايين الطريق إن شاء الله ونشوفكم إن شاء الله. معنا حليب, we bring milk, معنا رز, we bring rice, ومعنا كمان دواء, we bring medicine to all of.
Ty Hickey, the latest in his series of interviews. Really do wish them well on the Flotilla. So they're on the final leg now. They started off in Barcelona and now they've just left Sicily, as you can see from this footage of the Flotilla leaving Sicily earlier today. There were some delays apparently, but that's understandable with the size of this Flotilla. It's the biggest one in history, the best effort so far. Of course, Greta Thunberg is amongst the other well-known faces taking part as well. Apparently Israel have now officially declared that she's a terrorist, of all things. And so off they go. Heading to Gaza, hoping to deliver aid and then thus open a corridor where we can finally get people the food that they need. So that's the Sumud Flotilla, which means steadfast perseverance in Arabic. Godspeed. Alright people, just coming up towards the end of the stream now, but want to say another thank you to all of the members on the channel. Thanks for those gifted memberships as well on the stream this evening. That's been awesome to receive. 116 we now have towards the goal of 250. It's just 99 pence if you want to join this list of marvellous members. Please do check out the perks, other ways to support the channel if you're watching back later on. Super thanks are open. There's also a Buy Me Coffee page. Thanks for the coffees as well. to Satnav this evening. If you want to find the Buy Me a Coffee page, the link's in the description of the stream, or any other content. Please do check out some of our recent stuff and share it around as well. That'd be really helpful. And another gifted membership there from Andy Carter. Thanks again, brother. Just update that total before we say our goodbyes. Just had a quick scan who can raid into. There's no YouTubers at this time, but can raid into Al Jazeera. At least just to piss off Juliet Hartley Brewer. Why not? Yeah, so that'll be it from me on tonight's stream. Thanks a lot, everybody. It's been great to have you. Over 300 on tonight's stream. Really good total there. Awesome stuff. I'll be back on Sunday for the Sunday live stream. Do join me then. Hit the notification bell and make sure that you don't miss out on future content. So, take care, everybody. I've been your host, Lefty. You've been fantastic. My left eye will be seeing you soon. Powers to the people. Free Palestine.